So it's 2022 and this is the year that you've decided to become an awesome drummer. But where do you start? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you 3 things that every drummer can practice no matter who they are. Despite what everyone says, the job of a drummer is not to keep time. It's to make the audience dance and make the music feel good. But we can't do that without good time. So the first thing that every drummer, myself included, can improve this year is their time. To play good time, you need 2 things: solid pulse and solid meter. Solid pulse is basically just staying solid over a long period of time, a bar, 4 bars, an entire song. And solid meter is where you place those subdivisions super accurately, so the music feels good and it doesn't feel like a waterbed, which can happen. Now, to improve your time, best thing to do is dust off that metronome and get it to work. But depending on where your weakness is, pulse or meter, you're gonna have to use it in a different way to make sure that you're making the maximum progress. Now, if you need to improve your pulse, start working with a gap click. This is where instead of playing all the quarter notes, a metronome might play every second beat, so the 1 and the 3, or the 1 of every bar, or even less. This forces you to be in control of the time internally, and is a really, really challenging exercise, especially when you start doing fills or complex things, because you can speed up. What I find the best place to start for most drummers, however, is to work on their meter. Although I'm a huge fan of displaced clicks, it's actually better to start working with a subdivided click, where it's basically giving you all the notes that you're going to play. This acts as a really precise grid, so whether you're working on grooves or fills or chops or rudiments, you can focus on really locking in with those notes, and it'll train your body and mind to feel those subdivisions accurately. The great thing about this is that you can actually notice when you drift out of time and adjust back. If I'd just been playing with a quarter note click, you probably wouldn't have noticed that I went out of time there. Now, if you're really wanting to work on your time and really nail it down this year, I made a course on davemajormusic.com called Mastering the Click, and you can find that in the link below if you want to go check it out. Number 2 on the list of things that every drummer should work on this year is their hand. The hands are your source of all your speed, chops, dexterity, dynamics, and more importantly, your sound. So it's really important that we make them as good as possible. Now, the obvious thing to do would be to work on rudiments or even work on hand builder exercises. But I'm going to let you into a little secret weapon of mine, and that's to do snare drum solos. Snare solos are an incredible way of working on your hands. They work on your musicality, your technique, your dynamics, your touch, and I know that they played a really big part in my development as a drummer. Now, a quick search online and you'll be able to find loads and loads of free resources, but here's a few of my favorite books to get you started. Links to these are in the description below if you want to go and check them out. Now, the first one up is Savage Rudiments by Matt Savage. Now, the reason I like this book is that it makes very specific solos out of specific rudiments. So if you're working on a paradiddle, there's a solo for that. If you're working on a 5-stroke roll, there's a solo for that. And it's a great way of putting those rudiments and all that hours of work you put on the pad into context. Second up is 40 Intermediate Drum Solos by Ben Hands. This one is amazing. It's a little bit of a hidden gem. It's about £7 on Amazon, so super cheap. And although all the solos aren't necessarily intermediate, or what I would class as intermediate, they are all incredible. So you do them, you'll have great hands. Portraits in Rhythm is one of the hardest books I've ever come across. And if you can get through this, you're gonna have some pretty incredible reading chops and hands at the end of it. Every drummer on the planet plays the same things: singles, doubles, paradiddles, grooves. But what separates the greats from the okay drummers is the choices that they make. So the third and final thing that everyone can work on in 2022 is to make better choices. In order to make good choices, you have to make a lot of bad ones. I've certainly made lots. But the best way that I've found to practice making bad choices, and hopefully a few good ones, is to get drumless songs with vocals and practice creating parts for them. I use Epidemic Sound for this because you can get all the stems and rip out the drums, and they've got a ton of tracks in loads of styles with and without vocals. Now once you've got your song, you've downloaded your stems, and you've loaded them into Pro Tools, Logic, or GarageBand, or whatever you're using, now it's time to make a chart. Just a basic outline so you know roughly what the song does. And as you're listening, try to think where you're going to play fills, hi-hats, where you're going to go to the ride cymbal, what feel are you going to try to play. Once you've got that in your head, run to the kit, hit record, and then listen back.
I didn't realize you were my dream, so you took me by surprise. Oh yeah, even in my wildest dreams, I didn't think we were destined to be. And now you're laying next to me, everything feels like
As you're listening, try to work out if there was something better that you could do, maybe a new idea would spark yourself, or go and try and do a different take with an entirely different feel to see if it sits nicer. This is one of my favorite things to do with my students, and the difference week to week, song to song that I see in them is absolutely incredible. So you should definitely try and do this in your own practice. So those are 3 things that every drummer can practice in 2022. But if you want to make the most of your practice time and avoid the mistakes that I see loads of drummers make, then watch this video right here. See you in the next one.